Thank you, Karen, for this beautiful pluralistic offerings at the organ, and thank you, Trudy, for the beautiful reflection. Does anyone ever want to talk about fascism? I mean, is this a conversation you're having with your friends over coffee? But enough about my kids, let's talk about fascism. Is that happening anywhere? I can't think of a worse topic of conversation. So put yourself in my shoes when the worship team said this Sunday we should talk about pluralism and fascism. I swore, hopefully inaudibly, nobody wants to talk about fascism. So I asked myself, what do people love? I mean, if fascism is revolting and disgusts us, what entices us? What is delicious? And of course, the answer is pizza. Pizza is delicious. People want to talk about pizza. Dear First Church, you've made it through another Wisconsin winter. Summer is upon us. I'd like to celebrate with you. I'd like to order us 40 pepperoni pizzas, okay? So just give me a second. Hi, yes, I'd like to order 40 large pepperoni pizzas. First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. Yes, on Ogden. Deliver on to Astor, though. You'll see the doors, okay. Okay, I'm so sorry, I forgot there are people here that don't eat meat. Can we get 30 pepperoni and 10 cheese? Great, thank you. And, oh, sorry, there's gluten-free folks, right? Okay, can we do 28 pepperoni, 2 gluten-free pepperoni, 8 cheese, 2 gluten-free cheese. Yeah, that's, there's also lactose-free people, right? Okay, let's do a large order of breadsticks with marinara. And actually, while we're thinking about this, let's just get like a giant party salad. But we'll make it as allergy-free as possible. So no nuts, no cheese, no meat. I just learned this week that there's a tomato allergy, no tomatoes. I think that's everything. Yeah, I'm sorry, hold on one second. I forgot to ask what you want on the pizza. Can I get a show of hands for sausage? Okay. And for vegetable folks, does anyone like mushrooms? Wow, that's a lot. Okay, and olives? Green pepper? Wow, there was a strong no on those olives. Okay, sorry, thanks for holding. Can we do 15 pepperoni, 5 sausage, 3 meat lovers, and 4 Hawaiian pizzas? And then 3 cheese, 1 mushroom, 1 olive, 1 mushroom and olive, and however many left are vegetable. Okay, you know what? Actually, can you hold on a second? Ministerial intern, still learning. I realized I never asked if you wanted anything beside pizza. Hold on a second. Does anyone want anything besides pizza? Yes? Shrimp pad thai. Hold the green onions. Sure, Sally. Great. Shrimp pad thai. Is there anything else then? Yeah, I see you. Dale? Eggs Benedict. Sure. Eggs Benedict for Dale. Great. Anything else? Yeah. What's that? Oh, okay, pho. Okay, great. And Ken wants pho. You know what? This is stupid. I'm regretting my decision immediately, okay? So this is a mess. It's gotten too complicated. I hope you're happy now. It would take me until 4 p.m. to take everyone's order, drive up and down Milwaukee. It would probably cost me $5,000. And you know what? I wouldn't be able to please you anyways. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to exercise my ministerial authority. I'm going to go back to the 40 orders of pepperoni pizza. And you can like it or you can not eat. I don't care. But this is how we're going to do it. And now I realize we're talking about fascism. If I'm remembering my European history class correctly, we have a few moves left in our lunch order before we get to the full-blown fascism. I've already laid claim to my single authority for everybody here. Next, we need to ask why it got so complicated, right? We need a mythic past when it was simple and perfect. It would sound like this. You remember our founders who gathered in the courthouse of the Juneau Trading Post in 1842, and they started the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee and consecrated that worship service with a pepperoni pizza. And who could forget when this building was erected in the 1890s and we held our first ever pepperoni pizza block party? You see, it is part of our identity to eat pepperoni pizza. Back then, we just ordered the pizza and we were happy and grateful, unlike today's endless complications. I can see some of you are saying, well, isn't celiac disease or lactose intolerance something that's historical and not just in the last 20 years? And I can see one of you is probably going, well, actually the first pepperoni pizza parlor in Wisconsin came in 1949 in Milwaukee. You are complicating this, okay? I don't understand why you need to teach our kids your ideology about pizza history and RE. Why are you making them sad to enjoy pepperoni? We don't need your books in our church library about the history of celiac disease. We know in our hearts that we were a great pizza-eating congregation, and now our next move, and some people ruined it for us. Right, we have a mythic past now. Now we need a them to blame for why everything got so hard. We could, if we want, go after the 36% of people who are lactose intolerant, but that's too big a number. That would split the congregation. And besides, you could take a lactate pill and pass for a pizza eater. But the 6% of people who can't digest gluten, that's a perfect number to marginalize, to other, to blame, to shame for bringing us from our past glory. Now we need to turn that blame into policies to keep the gluten-free folks out of our kitchen, out of our common room, out of our event planning. How can we restore our greatness as a congregation until we remove the gluten-free eaters? From there, the last step is violence. It's not enough that we excluded you, we need you gone. This is why nobody wants to talk about fascism. It's awful. And whether or not we like talking about it, boy, people sure like to use that word a lot. Folks on the right are calling Biden a fascist. Folks on the left are calling Trump a fascist. So let's get into some definitions. Fascio is the Italian word, il fascio. Mussolini loved that word. It means a bundle. It's a simple idea, really. A single stick is easily breakable, but a bundle of sticks is unbreakable. Do you see it? Oh, I've made a mess up here. If we can just get ourselves unified in one clear direction, we could be powerful and purposeful and potent. 40 pepperoni pizzas is a perfect order. It's simple, it's clear, it's efficient. They deliver the pizza on time. But once I start factoring in dietary needs, dietary preferences, dietary allergies, the sticks point in too many directions. It's too complicated, it's too messy, it's too weak. No, I don't suppose for a minute that anybody gathered here supports the political system of fascism, the textbook definition, a single-party, authoritarian, imperialist, violence-oriented government built on myths of purity. That kind of political system stands in opposition to almost everything that Unitarian Universalism values. But we all have our little fascist moments, the little ones. When you're with a group of friends that have taken way too long to decide where to go out tonight. When you're in a meeting that's 20 minutes in, still debating the order of the agenda. In those moments, it can get a little fascist. I don't mean Mussolini fascist. I mean, it would just be better at this point that one person be given the authority to make a strong choice than that we spend another minute pondering collectively. And we use this similar word, fascia, it's the same root word, when we talk about our body, right? The fascia bundle together your muscle fibers and your organs. The fascia are the tissues that literally hold us together. So some kind of bundling is good, but I want to say this, the difference is that your fascia are soft, flexible, and mostly fluid. They hold things together lightly. Mussolini's bundle of dry sticks is nothing light. Sometimes we should bundle. Home and auto insurance. I know that was the first thought you were thinking. Phone and cable. Why not bundle, right? I just conducted my last concert at the Lawrence University Conservatory of Music about 38 hours ago. And in my work as a choir director, I would bundle all the singers together into the same pitches, rhythms, vowels, dynamics, timbres, and breath, so that we could present something beautiful. If all the voices were pointing in random directions, it wouldn't be so good. That's not fascist in the Mussolini sense, but it's a kind of fascia that holds many different voices together into one coherent sound. If you're in a social justice event, if you're in the Pride March, you're all marching in the same direction with the same purpose, and you're stronger together, bundled. So sometimes bundling can be good, but as you can see with our almost pizza order, it's easy to slip into the authoritarian kind. That's the bad bundling. And how do we avoid that? Pluralism is the antidote to fascism. Pluralism is the antidote to fascism. Pluralism centers the idea that we will never all order the same lunch, and that this is a good thing. As the kids are saying, it's a feature, not a bug. James Madison advocated for pluralism in the Federalist Papers, arguing that multiple competing goals and interests would be better for us as a young nation than developing one domineering group with a bunch of splintering factions. In pluralism, we hold on to a shared set of values, but we get there with multiple paths. Because pluralism is the idea that the different animals on Farmer Brown's farm might need different things to thrive. The cows need electric blankets at night because they are mammals who get cold. But that doesn't mean you should give the ducks in the pond electric blankets. That's a terrible idea. The ducks might need a diving board because they get bored swimming around in the pond. But don't put the cows in the pond. They can't swim. The farm serves a broad purpose. It feeds the community, but the different sticks don't all have to go in the exact same bundle. The farm isn't better or stronger or more efficient if everyone on the farm is treated like a cow. And we get this in that story, but it's hard for us in other parts of our lives because we're default biased to think in terms of win-lose net zero sum. The table I set at lunch is only big enough to welcome pepperoni pizza eaters, or only shrimp pad thai eaters hold the green onions. In the infinite game of pluralism, however, every eater is welcome to the table knowing they will eat different things. We just did this last week. Last week we held a potluck in between the service and the annual meeting, and people brought things to share. And behold, there were gluten-free options, and there were vegan options, and there were lactose-free options, and there was beef brisket and brownies and salads and chips, and it was awesome. And if pluralism is that easy, then why don't we always do that? Pluralism is fragile. It has built-in risks, like the paradox of tolerance. Have you heard of this? The scholar Karl Popper wrote about it in 1945. And it goes like this. In a society that centers tolerance and inclusion of all voices, the most intolerant voice or party will eventually dominate and destroy the very tolerant society. In other words, if we say that everyone gets to play at the playground, a bully will emerge who starts to kick people out of the playground. And that's the paradox. Pluralism only works when we are all vigilant against bullies without becoming the bullies ourselves. Here's how I sort it out. Pluralism is a commitment to a way of doing things, a means, a method. Fascism is a commitment to an ends, a result. So pluralism asks, what do all of these animals need to thrive on this farm? That's a process question. But fascism says, shut up and lay the eggs. That's a product-oriented way of thinking. Pluralism says, bring something to share for the potluck. That's a process. Fascism says, we're going to get 40 pepperoni pizzas. That's a product. The problem with our lunch just now was not that I didn't learn to factor in your different needs. The problem was, it was the premise that I alone was in charge of what everyone eats. Let me say that again. The problem was not that I didn't learn to factor in your different dietary restrictions. It's that I alone took charge of what everyone in the room eats. That's a process problem. In just a few weeks, the delegates of Unitarian Universalist congregations across America will be voting to ratify proposed amendments to Article 2. Now, if you're not a policy wonk among UUs, you might not know that Article 2 is the part of our bylaws where our principles and values are stated. Now, this is an especially difficult kind of work for UUs because we don't have a creed or a stated set of beliefs or a confession of faith that we make everyone ascribe to. And so you're asking yourself, well, how do we write values and principles for a group that defines itself by not having a creed? Pluralism. The way this worked was that a diverse team of people worked for years to hear from everyone. They listened all across the country. They talked to pepperoni pizza eaters and shrimp pad thai eaters. They talked to gluten-free eaters and lactose intolerant eaters. They talked to the ducks and the cows and the chickens, and they said, okay, here's what we're hearing. Does this sound like your principles and values? And then many people wrote back with their feedback. And then last June they said, okay, is it like this? And then we talked some more and we said, yes, that's about it. But let's give it another year so we can continue to reflect. And then there has been more conversation and more listening. And in a few weeks there will be more discussion and then voting. Interestingly, the clearest, overwhelmingly strongest message that the folks heard when they were listening around the country was that Unitarian Universalists want to be defined by love, which doesn't show up in the 7 principles. We were saying collectively that love is the center of our identity and the source of our actions. What flows from that love are our new proposed values, which we lovingly call JET-PIG. Justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. So if you're asking, well, what does pluralism look like in the real world? I think that's it. But as lunch orders go, this one took years. I mean, to misquote Churchill, the only thing worse than pluralism is every other system. The easy part of growing up into adulthood is recognizing that other people are different from you and have different needs than you, that they eat different foods and need electric blankets or diving boards. The hard part of growing up is honoring the processes that make space for one another's differences. When people commit to pluralistic processes, making space for multiple perspectives, it can be exhausting, frustrating, kind of annoying. It's less efficient. But if love is the center of our religion and the prime cause for our actions in this world, we need to start recognizing that love prioritizes process over product. Love says, these cows need some electric blankets. Love says, these ducks need a diving board. Love says, these congregants need a gluten-free option, or a hearing loop, or a meal train, or pastoral care. Love says, these neighbors of ours need food served at the guest house. Love asks us sometimes to bundle together to fight for a child's right to use the bathroom and their real name. Sometimes love asks us to fight for someone's right to have their life matter so that they're not tried, convicted, and executed for walking down the street. Love says we don't all need to eat the same food, but we damn sure all get to eat at the table. Love calls us to honor the cloud of witnesses who gave their very lives to defend our pluralism. Pluralism is the antidote to fascism. The world begins at the kitchen table, and perhaps the world will end there. So let's make room for everyone at this table. Pluralism is the potluck where everyone comes together to eat. Bring what you can, share what you have. Bon appétit. Go in awe at our beautiful differences. Go in courage to bundle when you're called to. Go in love to make a place at the table for all. Will you please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together, We Would Be One. It's 318 in the gray hymnal.